well, I hope I can inspire you with our approach to, well, compensation, or as we call it, is just about money. So let's talk about money. Here's my script on some post-its. So I want to start to give you some context about Concept 7, so then it could help you understand the way we do compensation. So already mentioned, founded 19 years ago with 4 other friends. Friends decided, well, we're going to start a company. Let's build websites and we'll see what happens. Well, and actually didn't stop. And we grew and grew and grew. We are now with 12 people and been doing Holacracy for 3 years now. Our company, I would describe our DNA is really like it's almost like a family. So it's like a culture-first company. And that's how we grew and grew and grew. And that's also how we did before we did compensation. It was usually the 3 of us, me, Marcel, and Raymond. We looked at all our employees and we had like the discussion. He was doing well on this, he was doing well on that. So what do we think we should do? And that didn't feel right anymore. So we wanted to, well, change that. When we go to Holacracy, we wanted to change that. So, and I've heard like the tension, we thought about this. Like what was our, we had like few things. First, we really wanted to change the way we look at power. It is like not a really nice situation if like there's 3 bosses there and you as an employee, and then, well, sometimes we make you happy, you get 200 more euros or not. So we wanted to change the relation we have to power. So that was really an important thing for us. The other thing what we want to solve was more clarity in our compensation. So there were the main points that we were focusing on. And at first, we looked in a ranking-based system. And we're actually quite far with that. So we looked at how do we measure actually performance, and how do we measure how well our people are doing, and also in their roles. And we looked at the work of Daniel Pink. Maybe you know them, but he looks at mastery, autonomy, and purpose. And that's how we did like a peer review, and then we tried to, actually level people. Like, are you on those 3 elements? Are you level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? And those levels we connected to more a ranking-based system. So I'd like to draw a bit. It helps me think. So we had like here, like the work of Pink. We had like levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we had like a traditional, usually like this. And we weren't quite far with that. We spent a lot of time, energy, thinking power on actually figuring this all out. It's about like a big design upfront, we would call it. Not what you expect to do in Holacracy, because there you use like evolution, but on a thing on compensation and money, that's actually quite difficult. We figured out to follow that evolutionary process, or we found it difficult. And then we had this governance meeting in our general company circle and tried to implement this process. And then in the reaction round, actually, there it just didn't feel right. We couldn't really pinpoint it. And we were so far, but somehow it just didn't feel it. So then we went into Tribe and we discussed. And then, we are design thinkers. And there, what we do on a daily business, we learn about creativity and how important it is to explore several solution directions. And I'd like to do a small exercise with you. I'd like you all to take a pen and a piece of paper. And I will ask you to draw a fish. So draw a fish. Yeah. And if you've drawn your fish, I would like to ask you to draw another fish, but a different one than your first one. And once you've done that, I will ask you to draw another fish, but a different one than the fish number 1 and fish number 2. And usually if you do this, what happens, what I see often, is that the first fish most of the time looks something like that. Probably. And then fish number 2, fish number 3, they become more unique. Maybe not better, maybe worse, but they are more unique. And the more you do this, the more unique and creative your ideas are becoming. And this is actually how it felt with our first attempt to our compensation, to connect it to the pink method and to our ranking base. It felt a bit like, maybe this is our first fish. We've done a lot of research, we looked at other companies doing it, but we felt there must be another ways. And actually what we did, we explored this direction of self-set. Like, why do we need a whole system in place at all? What if we just determine it for ourselves? How would we do that? How would we manage that? And that's actually the direction that we have implemented now. And I would like to tell you a bit about the process that we follow. So the first important thing that we do is we try to come up with, okay, how much money can we spend on compensation? And actually that's quite easy how we do it. We have what we do is we set our gross margin on 100%, so GM, and we have a limit of 65% for compensation. So if you want to pay out more, then our gross margin has to come up. So this is actually the thing that we decide, and we decide this on a yearly basis. We set our budget. And we do that looking at 3 perspectives. So first, we look at the market. So we look at our existing customers, we look at what we think we can do in the market. And the roles, like sales and marketing, they come up with input for this. And we do typically like a normal case, best case, worst case. We also look at finance. So this is more the historical perspective. What have we done last year? What have we done 2 years ago? And what is our projections? So we look at that perspective. And we look at the organization perspective. If our utilization rate is 65%, 70%, then what we think we can do in our company. And all those 3 perspectives combined gives us a number. Okay, then I expect our turnover this year would be 1.2 million. So, and 1 million gross margin. So I know what we actually can pay on salary. So that's a bit, it sets our boundary of what we can do. And what we then have is our timeline. So in October, everyone in our company, they come up with their own proposal. And it's a proposal of what they would like to get as a salary, but it could also be other more things like I need a lease car, or I want a phone, or whatever you need. I want more free days. They come up with their own actually working conditions. And we use that as input. So with that, we go into in November, our budgeting cycle. And we have like this feedback system. If we all want to earn much more money than we think we can do as a market, and which we think is realistic, looking at a historical perspective and what we could do from organization, then there's actually like this red light. So you already have like some feedback, like, okay, if we want this, we really need to come up with completely different solutions because this is not feasible. And that's good for people to understand, ready to set some expectations. And then we go through our budgeting cycle. We go to our shareholders. They actually have to approve our budgeting. And then actually the 65% limit is set. Then in December, 2nd of December, we asked everyone to come up with their final proposal. So they have their first proposal, we have feedback, we have our yearly budget, and then they come with their second proposal. And then we have a meeting, and we have 2 roles. One role is salary system, and the role salary system is like triggering this whole system. It's also looking at things like equality, and it's looking at like giving feedback and really helping people in this process as well with coming up your own number. And we have a role working conditions. And in those meetings, actually, we discuss the proposal and we come up with a final proposal. What are our learnings from this? Well, actually, what we figured out is that people are usually really realistic about how they look at their own salary. So they are quite good at setting their own projections. And what we found out is that a lot of people, they love more they are very much more aware of their working conditions. It's not like, okay, that's there in the system, I don't have to think about it. But it's much more a conscience. They are much more in September, October, they're really thinking about actually what they need as working conditions. So this level of individual flexibility, we've seen this as really a benefit in this system. Our next steps, of course, now looking at performance, but we've made a clear cut. It's like to not tie performance to compensation. That's what we explored. It's what it felt really good. So that's what we didn't do, but we are looking into new ways of performance, but not tying it to our compensation.
Do I understand well that these roles that you have, that they are coaching the individual to the right compensation? What do you do when someone gets weak or someone is, let's say, very proactive and others?
Yeah, I think that's in the coaching part as well. So the role is really important, person fulfilling the coach role. If we are all becoming much more greedy, then I think we should have like a good tribe conversation. Like because that's, as an entrepreneur, what we did, we always, we put on that part. But now we have to organize it ourselves. So what we try to do is, this is how we always did it in the future. But how we really want to distribute that knowledge as in the team. But we haven't encountered it yet. We usually see more modesty than greediness, what we've seen.
And you don't have a stop process or policy where you can really, okay, it's going to talk.
We've not, no. There's not been a tension that has arisen yet.
A question for instance, is I was wondering what happens when you bring somebody new in to your organization, whether you've already budgeted for a new person at a certain comp level, or whether everybody just takes a percentage loss when you bring somebody in.
Yeah, no, that's already in our plans, in our yearly plans. You made like, okay, we want to invest in this role or in another person. So that's all within this 65% limit. So, but that's something that we discuss with each other.
Okay. Very briefly, Colin and Adam, we move on.
When you see everybody makes the final proposal, and in the first instance everybody proposes what they need, does this system need full transparency, or it can also be done without transparency? Our country where we operate, for example, doesn't allow salary transparency unless everybody...
Yeah, we don't have full transparency yet. I would like to do that, but that didn't feel safe in our tribe yet, so we have some work to do there. So therefore also we have these two roles, and they're being elected. Like the salary system and the working condition, it is like an election process, like we trust this person to do that confidently. Yeah, but I would love to be able to be more transparent.
Adam?
Adam?
Yeah, Carlos just asked it, so okay, yeah, pass it on.
Here's that question. So every circle has two roles for the compensation part.
Yeah, this is in our general compensation. So yeah, because we are like with 12 people, so then it's manageable. If you would like to scale it, that could be a direction to look into.
Cool. Stefan, thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Stefan.